In this session, we'll try to understand connecting to the data sources using Tableau. In fact, the good thing about Tableau is it is very successful in connecting to the data that is stored in different kinds of files or even in different kinds of databases. It is it is quite comfortably able to connect to various of these data sources. So you can connect it right from an Excel file or even a text file or an Access file, any of these kind of files. Or you can even connect to a relational database like SQL Server. Simply you would be able to connect it, or Oracle you should be able to connect Tableau quite simply. Or even you could connect to the cloud-based data sources also. You should be able to connect to Google Analytics, or you could even connect to the OLAP-based data sources also, like Microsoft SQL Server Analysis Services, Azure. So you could be able to connect. Tableau is having the connectivity to all these kind of data sources. And the good thing is, it really doesn't matter what is the data source. The way you build the visualization, once you have connected to a particular data source, the way you have built your visualization and performing the analysis on the data looks more or less the same, whatever is the data source. And it should be like that. Otherwise, that is what would create an additional layer of confusion among the users, depending on the kind of the data. If they have to change their analysis and if they have to change their visualization tool, it becomes pretty difficult. Now that is where what Tableau simply does is, whatever is the data source that you are connecting to, the background work will make sure that once the data comes into your Tableau scope, whatever you are doing, the visualization, the analysis, whatever you are doing, should not depend on the data source. Only up to getting the data into the Tableau's window, we are working out with that particular connectivity. But once it is brought in, everything is the same. Now, we will look at, just as an example, how I connect to an Access data store. Right? Of course, as we move along, we'll take some examples where I have to connect to the other data sources as well. So right now we will look at how do I connect to Access data store. I have one data, right? Let me go run you through the data first. I have a data called coffee chain, which is an Access data file, which contains a lot of aspects associated with this particular chain. You could see that there is a table which is talking about the profit, the margin, sales, cost of goods sold, total expenses, etc. Right, there are quite a few fields here, and this is the table, and we have a coffee chain query, again talking about these aspects, and we have a product table, right? Okay, we have a location table and we have a product table. Product table is talking about the products. There are 13 products. Some of them are beans, some of them are leaves. The product type: coffee Amaretto, coffee Colombian, coffee Deccan Irish. So these are the codes that are given to each of these. So probably the coffee chain is having 13 different products as a part of its coffee and tea. Location wise, it is operating, I think, at around 156 different locations, right? So 156 locations are being identified. So there is an area code, state, market size, and this is the typical sales that have happened, right? So there are almost 4,000 odd records, the typical sales. So you are collecting the data right from so we are looking at for the month of January, right, and that too from the 2nd of January to I think around 12th of January, so around 2 weeks, or I think this is monthly, right? This looks monthly for different kinds of products and different area codes. So we have this as the data, right? This is the entire data. So we have product ID, so which means it is linked to product table. Area code is linked to the location table, and these are what are the same. So this is what I really want to analyze. All right. So what we'll do is we'll first pull this data into Tableau, and then we'll see how we can do the visualization quickly using Tableau. Now this is my initial Tableau screen. Once I open Tableau, this is how the screen comes like. And now I can connect to any of these data sources. And to start with, as I said, we'll connect to Access. So I'll click on Access here, right? I'll click on Access. It asks me for the name of the Access file. So I'll go to the required location. I have saved it somewhere in Tableau folder here. So I am selecting this coffee chain. All right. So once I connect it directly, okay, it's taking some time to make a connection. Yes, the connection is being made, and you could see the names of the tables out here. I have a fact table, I have the location table, I have the product table, and I have the query, coffee chain query. So these are some of the things that are there as a part of that MDB file. And if required, you just click on this location table. You are getting that data from that location table out here. Similarly, product table, right? You can. Right now we don't need this. We'll come back to this. Now, when you are looking at the product table, so we are having the products, the product type, the product lines, etc. So you can click on that appropriate table and you get a display of it, right? You can go to your coffee chain query. Now this we don't need. So once I am here, the coffee chain query, it is showing me the entire values that are there as a part of the coffee chain. So here we have linked a lot of things. Probably the query itself has taken care of the market, the state, lot of things, market size, etc. The product, lot of things are being pulled out. So we'll talk about it later, but let's say this is the kind of data that we have. I really want to do some kind of analytics on this data, right? Now, what has happened here? Now the Tableau's data connection screen. This was my data connection screen of Tableau. So once I've got this one, when I've said a new data source, this is the kind of data connection screen that I'm getting in Tableau. So visually I would be able to create a connection to the different data sources. Now, just for simplicity, I can very well drag this particular table, copy chain query, because it is containing almost everything. I will drag here, which I have already done. Right? Initially it was something like this. I have dragged this copy chain query as a part of the table into the center of the screen. Now it is showing all the data that I really require to build some kind of visualization and the dashboard. So this is the data on which I can really build my dashboard. Now this is the configuration of the data connection. Now the data connection is, we have connected to the Access database. Now I can very well create visualization and dashboard. Here it is showing go to worksheet. Now I can click on this sheet 1. I can do anything. You can do a right click, you can do a renaming of the sheet, blah blah blah, all the stuff you can do just like Excel sheet. So if you want to keep the sheet 1 as it is, fine, otherwise you can rename it. But what is very important is, look at this show me. The show me panel is like a repository of different kinds of maps, different kinds of charts and graphs. So I can either show it or I can even hide it. So we will bring it out whenever required, right? Because once we start doing the graphing, probably a selecting of the appropriate graph comes from this panel only. So we have more to work on it here. But otherwise I click on this, it's a kind of a toggle that show me tab will be shown or hidden. Now, this is the initial Tableau screen that where we are working. So we have to really try to understand the main work area. This is the overall work area of Tableau. We should really try understanding what each one of them are. Now, here you could see all the various menu items which help us in doing different kinds of activities in Tableau. Okay, in the file, these are the things I can do. With respect to data, the important thing is I can open a new data source, and the current data source copy chain is being shown here. I can do a lot of things here. I can edit, refresh, right? If the data is uploaded in the if the data is modified in my source location in my access file, doing a refresh will refresh the data even inside the Tableau also, and I can view the data, a lot of other things. Similarly, worksheet specific few things, dashboard specific few things, storytelling specific few things, analysis specific features. So we'll explore them as we move further. We talk about the maps, all these things. So this is a part of the menu where we can perform different kinds of functions, or the whole scope of Tableau is represented as a part of this menu item. Then comes the toolbar, which we have seen even in various Microsoft Excel kind of applications. There it was more and more sophisticated, became like a ribbon. But here this toolbar contains the commonly used functions: undo, redo, save, adding a new data source, new worksheet, duplicating the sheet, right? So a common kind of functions that are there where you can connect to the data, etc. They are being shown in a visual format here. Then comes the most important aspect, the left hand side of the screen. This area. This area is what we are calling as a sidebar, and it contains different features and controls based on your current task. Now here our current task was, we have got this copy chain query. So there are the data that you have got is copy chain query. The dimensions of that data, we'll talk about them. So there are so many dimensions of this data. Generally the text related fields, right, where they are all taken as dimensions, and measures, the values related fields, they are taken as measures out here. So out of our total data, whichever by default, Tableau has identified some of them as text related, and those things it has displayed as a part of the dimensions, right? And some of them it has identified as numerical related fields, and all the number related fields it has taken them as measures. Sometimes it might very well be possible that the classification is slightly wrong. If that is the case, we may have to move that particular field either from dimensions to measures or from measures to dimensions accordingly. Right? We'll take examples where we are required to move. So it provides us a tab for data, a tab for analytics. You see the quick, simple analytics, constant line, average line. By default, some of the basic analytics that you can do on the data, they are listed out, but depending on the data, these would be enabled. So in the default case, you see these two kind of tabs here, right? So one is the data containing the data source connection, whatever the connection that you have made, and the fields which are divided into dimensions and measures. So that is the major aspect of the sidebar. Now comes the other major aspect, which is all these, the pages, the filters, the marks, right, columns, rows, all these things, they are the drag and drop areas. Now any of these fields from any of these here, you can drag them into any of these locations. Just if you really want to see that, okay, budget cost of goods sold. I drag it, let's say here. I get some calculation happening, right? Or you say the area code or market. I drag it into the rows. The list of my markets are coming out here, east, west, south, north. So that is, any of these are my drag and drop locations. So there are some pages, we'll discuss about them in detail. These are the filters. We can drag them onto columns, onto the rows, or even lot of things as a part of the marks, where I can drag them onto color. Based on them I can do the coloring. Based on them I can do the sizing, small versus big, right? I can do the labeling based on that, lot of these things. So this part is like the drag and drop area. Then comes this area where you are seeing the white space. This is what we actually call as canvas, right? In the Tableau language, this location is actually called as canvas, probably the visualization space or whatever. So this is where whatever you drag, based on your drag and drop fields, the visualization actually happens here. So based on whatever you have dragged here, dropped any of these places, the actual display, whether it is table, graph, whatever it is, that comes in this canvas, right? So this is one more area that we need to be comfortable with. Then you could also look at the bottom part. Here it is showing data source. So the data source is giving us to which file that you have connected, and within that what are the tables that are there. Similarly, all the sheets that you create, they are all shown here, right? Your current workbook, which is sheet 1, it is shown out here. Now probably you may even want to add more sheets, sheet 2, sheet 3, so it gives you a flexibility to create a new sheet. Or you can create even new dashboard, right? So dashboard is nothing but multiple sheets are combined. Whenever we are saying a dashboard, we are combining multiple sheets and other components together on one single screen. That is what we are creating as a dashboard. And we can also create a story. When I am creating a story, it's like I'm combining multiple dashboards and views to build a full big picture. So it's like this hierarchy. Initially, I have the sheets and I combine a few of the sheets to form a dashboard. I combine a few dashboards to tell a story of the entire data of a particular company. So that's one more area which we would be watching out. And finally, we do have the status bar, which is at the bottom, this slide. This is the status bar which is giving you information about the current view. So on the right hand side, you have something to move up, previous, next kind of stuff, and show the sheet sorters. You could show the film strip, a few important functions which help you in the navigation through the various worksheets. We'll discuss them whenever we come across with an example. So now that at this moment we are connected to our data, we are ready to begin our visualization and the analysis with the data. So this is where we should get started. As we move along as a part of our course, we'll be building multiple visualizations. We'll create different questions, try to answer them, and finally put everything together as a part of an interactive dashboard, right? So that is what is the introductory aspect, how you connect to the data sources, especially to access, which we have looked at now using the Tableau interface. All right. Thanks a lot for listening to this session. Thank you very much.